All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another week of Osborne Formula Ultimate Challenge. We are at the lovely circuit. Giles, Villeneuve? One of the two. Pull out some race info here real quick as people complete their outlaps. We are already into a little bit of qualifying, 15-minute open qualifier here as we are at the full configuration layout. Not that there's really a shorter one that we see here on iRacing of Circuit Villeneuve, as my round number marker is still borked for some reason, so we'll just change it back to what it was before. 2.68, not 2.86 miles in the lovely city of Montreal in Canada. And bit of a small grid tonight. Got a beautiful amount of 6 drivers hanging out with us this evening as they complete their outlaps. Let's see if we can get a little bit of a thing going here. Get all my windows sorted correctly. There we are. Awesome. Let's see if we can ride on board real quick with Charles Rotes. I think he sets, or is going to set, his first qualifying. They hit the show button and all these other buttons. A lovely shot down the start finish straight, going into a rather tight hairpin, the left into the right hairpin, down to the set, the first kind of wide chicane almost, and cutting back, using a lot of that runoff and curbing. Not a whole ton here. It is in fact a street circuit or street adjacent circuit as it's in park. And the first sector done and dusted as we get up to the second, almost chicane, not really chicane, but second set of corners that are chicane adjacent. Doing a couple things here. Organizing a couple more monitors down to turn 10, the hairpin, and then nice run down what's known as Casino Straight here in Circuit Giles Villeneuve, aka Droit du Casino. Has really kind of a turn / bend 11 in the middle of it, and we have the final chicane, also where the pit entrance is, to round off our lap. The Wall of Champions on the outside here, off to your right. Charles Rotes avoiding it very handily. Kevin Hayes setting the first time of the night with a 131.373. Charles Rotes green in all 3 sectors and 131.621, 3/10 off of our leader. A beautiful time for Charles Rotes this evening. Tony Caicedo not far behind them, I believe, working on his lap with a purple first sector, green middle sector, that purple sector being yoinked away. I guess that's the word I'm going to use, yoink, by Kevin Hayes. And then Charles Rotes taking it from both of them, making for a spicy set of qualifying here. Tony Caicedo green in both first and second sector. Probably will also go green in sector 3 is my guess. Purple in sector 3. Fantastic stuff. Bumps him up to the top of the order with a 130.922. Parker Merrill, excuse me, also getting through his lap, just coming out of the turn 9, the second kind of chicane. Not really a chicane, but kind of a chicane. And hit all my buttons. Charles is a beast. Saw Sergey as he hopped to that curb. Chance of rain? I don't think there's a chance of rain. I think we have avoided a chance of rain for this evening. Talk with chat here real quick. Parker Merrill setting a invalid lap time by the looks of it, since he's not up on that board. Kevin Hayes green in sectors 1 and 2, purple in sector 3 with a 130.472. Thought I had seen Charles Rotes going purple in a couple sectors, but he does not seem to have posted a time. Ooh, nice touch on the outside barrier. That'll validate Parker Merrill's lap time. This time by, it's had 15% chance of rain. No, it's 50% humidity. Excuse me. I think that's the humidity there. Let's see. Let's take a look at that again. Yeah, that is the humidity, not the percent chance of rain for this. So, Tony Caicedo running purple or green in all three of his sectors, setting a new personal best time, 1:30.230, going fastest overall with all that. Not fastest in a single area. Yeah, it is a little confusing. It's just, I think it's a bad marker for what it is. Because if we look at, if we go over to iRacing proper, hop over to the weather, there is no chance of rain. So we'll go back to our fancy layout and go from there. Parker Merrill, I think, on his second time. Sergei Porok getting an outlap, first flying lap done, setting purples in sectors 1 and 2, and probably, my guess, being in fact he's on a heater, going into sector 3. Joshua Harless. Yeah, 1 of 2. 1:33.354, a little bit off the pace, but it's a tight field tonight. And Parker Merrill getting that off track, or really that bumping off that wall early on in the lap, invalidates his lap time, so he'll have to go around again. Tony Caicedo on a cool down lap. Sergei Porok with a 1:29.952, fastest on the board by 0.2, a little bit in each sector. So, Parker Merrill, the last of the 6 drivers we have this evening, at least so far. It is the weekend, Thursday before Easter Sunday, so it is a bit of a lighter grid than I think we were maybe expecting. Should be a good time though, all the same. A lot of intense driving, I think, as a result. A pit lane for Kevin Hayes. Charles Rotes out on outlap. Sergei Porok coming out of the final corner there. And sets, is blinking. Looks like he's blinking pretty hard there. Yeah, it's definitely a lot of discontinuation there. And Tony Caicedo will hop on with as he wraps up his lap per green sector 1, yellow sector 2. See if he gets any faster than his 1:30.230. It looks like it's probably not going to be the case with 1:30.4, half a second off of Sergei Porok. Charles Rotes, Kevin Hayes, all out on laps. Hot laps for Charles and Kevin. Parker Merrill still looking to set a better time than where he is sitting with the 1:32.8. He has got greens sector 1 and sector 2. See if you can pin it together with this hairpin. Definitely a spot on the track you need to get really well dialed in order to really maximize this lap time. And comes down the final start-finish stretch after the hairpin. See if he gets purple all 3 sectors, green all 3 sectors. 1:31.702. Much faster. Wonderfully done. First time watching racing here, rooting for my buddy Tony. What does the purple mean? Purple means that he has gone fastest in that sector of the race. There are 3 of them across the track. I still haven't fixed up the overlay there. You can see the little black bars filling behind the kind of really opaque bars, so it's hard to notice. But when they get done with the sector, it posts yellow or orange, kind of for a sector that is not their fastest. Purple for one that is the fastest overall of any of the drivers, and then green will be their personal fastest. So Tony has gone fastest in sector 2. If we hop over to Tony as he's coming across the start-finish stretch, it has a yellow sector 3 as well, at the 1:30.680, no faster than his fastest already, with a 1:30.230 being that fast time. Joshua Harless on a bit of a flyer, 2 green sectors there. Looks like it's going to be maybe a good lap. I don't know. He's on 2 minutes, though. I wonder if something happened. Charles Rotes as well. 2 yellow sectors there. Yellow and green for Parker Merrill, who's behind Joshua Harless. And Sergei Perok set in greens and purples, which will make for good run. 131.360. Better overall time for Charles Rotes as well as Joshua Harless. That's a 132.073. Not sure where my timing tower was trying to give me that. He's been on a lap for 2 minutes. But either way, both him and Joshua Harless, both him and Parker Merrill behind him have set faster laps. Sergei Perok on a flyer, hopefully trying to extend his lead. And I think he's able to do so with 2 purple sectors there, going to 129.545. And he is wrapping up his qualifying run, it looks like, parking it on the outside of turn 1. So, we send to the pits. Tony Caicedo coming across by the wall of champions. And we'll set another time as well. 2 yellow sectors. Doesn't look like he's going to be going any faster this time by. And now that they have all been out for a little bit on their tires, they'll have warmed up. And that makes them a little bit slower than they were initially. Got about 3 minutes left in qualifying. Joshua Harless trying to set a faster time. Both him and Parker Merrill unable to do so. Tony hard on the brakes, setting up a little bit of smoke as he gets on through the back half of the lap and into the hairpin for the final straight. Looks like it's going to be a slower time for him as well, with yellows in sectors 1 and 2. Kevin Hayes on a bit of a flyer with that sector 3, but doesn't look like it's any faster with that 131.0. Joshua Harless, green first sector. And Parker Merrill brings it into the pit lane. Joshua Harless going yellow in sector 2. So it's going to be a little bit slower. Tony Caicedo down 0.8 of a second from his fastest lap. And we'll take him no faster than he has gone. But he's still pushing, looking for time, trying to make up the about half a second, a little over, between him and the leader, Sergei Perok. And the one try to get the gap behind him of merely just over 1/10 of a second to Kevin Hayes, a little bit wider. Kevin Hayes setting green sector 2. He's coming down to the final start-finish line as we look on from the inside of the casino straight. And he's got a green middle sector. Might be faster overall if his yellow is only a little bit under his fastest lap. We'll have to see, though, as he comes across the line where he will end up. Purple final sector means he probably goes a little bit faster. And that does. It takes him up to a 129.6. A lot faster overall in that final sector, enough to give him about a total of half a second, a little over 0.6 of a second, and bumps him up to P2 and gives a little bit of a fight there to Sergei Perok. Tony Caicedo being consistent with his 130.1, but not getting that last 0.5 that he'll need to catch up to the P2 and P1 runners. Kevin Hayes, purple first sector. He's still trying to find more time here. And he is probably frustrating Sergei Perok, who was asking how everybody was doing in the practice session prior to this. And we have the checkered flag out. I don't know if Kevin will be able to finish his lap time. Now, as we get in between qualifying and the grid, take a quick talk about the points. So going into this week, we have the drop rounds applied for Osborne Formula Ultimate Challenge, and we are into round 4 here. Going into this round, Kevin Hayes, the person we've been most recently following along with, is tied for the lead with Robert Llewellyn, who is not here tonight. So it's going to be some good points for Kevin Hayes to extend that lead if he can keep it clean. Even if he can't keep it clean, as long as he takes the finish line, he'll get himself some good points there. Not far behind either him or Robert Llewellyn, Tony Caicedo, our event organizer, coming in third with the 25 points. Another good race for him. We'll also see him jump up the order a fair bit. Mauricio Marquez Ramos, one of the many drivers not driving tonight. Again, busy weekend for a lot of them, so it makes sense. But a solid standing for him. Currently sits him in 4th. In 5th, not far behind, but on the provisional pole for this race, is Sergei Perok, who, if he gets a good finish here, definitely bumps him up the order. Adam Dahl, Tim Schaefer, Joshua Harless, Charles Rotes, Benjamin Wider, Parker Merrill, and Joseph Evers all have points on the grid as we are getting ready to get rolling here. As our timing tower loses its mind. Let's see if we can hit all these buttons and make things go away. Nope. It does not do the thing it's supposed to. Cool. We'll just hit the reload overlay button, and that'll fix all of it. Theoretically. Cool. Awesome. We are here with the drivers. Starting on the pole position, Sergei Perok with that 129.545, a 10th behind him. Kevin Hayes in that second spot, sharing the front row. The third space is going to be Tony Caicedo. In 4th, next to him, Charles Rotes, Parker Merrill, Joshua Harless, and Nick Terrell sliding in at the last moment, making this grid a little bit interesting. It'll be a good race. 7 starters for this week here at Circuit Giles Villeneuve. I am super thrilled that Nick is elected to join us. Let's see here. Grid? Yep, grid. Cool. As we get ready to go racing here. So we do that. We're waiting on one more driver. That'll be Nick Terrell, who is probably still loading into the sim. As we look on from our pole sitter and our P2, Sergei Perok, Kevin Hayes. Revving the engine. And he may have to... he gets on to the starting grid as we get ready to go racing here. 5 lights are on, and they're about to go off. And we are away for the circuit, the Canadian Grand Prix. Circuit Giles Villeneuve. Sergei Perok off the line. Kevin Hayes on the outside, able to get a good run there, battling him for overall lead of the race. Tony Caicedo really capitalizing on that battle and sliding his way up into 3rd, trying to take 2nd away from Sergei Perok, who's had a bit of a rough start. And it looks like he's going to be side by side going into turn 4. Sergei manages to hold on to it. Tony Caicedo all around behind him, trying to get those tires rubbered in. See that little wiggle there. Behind them, Charles Rotes, Parker Merrill, Joshua Harless all filing in. Nick Terrell bringing up the back of this pack. And it is a spicy start as all the cars make it away from the start-finish line without issue. And Tony has the draft. These cars really benefit from the draft. That is all lock-up from Tony as he tries to keep it out of the rear end of Sergei Perok, able to do so. But that'll drop Tony back a little ways from his really good start up there. Joshua Harless trying to take the fight to Parker Merrill and Charles Rotes, who I think choked up a little bit to not run into the back end. Lock up of the brakes. It's going to be a spin from Joshua Harless. Everybody else seems to get away okay. I don't know that there was contact, but Joshua Harless back on the racetrack. Doesn't make his friends with the wall or anything like that as we look on. A little bit of a bruised ego. He should be okay. Kevin Hayes taking in the lead of the race after the first lap. Sergei Perok, Tony Caicedo, Charles Rotes, all behind him in the first 4. Parker Merrill, Nick Terrell, both up one position. I say both up one position. Both in the positions they started in. And Nick Terrell is up 1 as Joshua Harless has fallen to the back of the order. Big lockup on the brakes from Sergei Perok as he is going to try to keep up with Kevin Hayes, who has found a little bit more pace than him off the start. Tony Caicedo trying to keep up with them, not having the draft there. They're getting really close to that barrier. And the battle continues. Sergey finding a little bit of time there, getting the draft from Kevin Hayes. Big part of this machinery, as well as some of the other smaller, kind of slower cars, is they really benefit from not having to punch through the air themselves and getting the car in front of them to do it. So I'd say Sergey has really got the lead here. Or sorry, I'd say has a good run here, being behind Kevin Hayes. Parker Merrill looking to take the fight to Charles Rotes, is able to do so, swings around the outside of that turn as they go into the hairpin. On the brakes, you can see those warm brake discs as they are getting utilized, and a good runaway, or good exit, I should say, from the turn sees Parker Merrill holding on to 4th position from Charles. For the back in the field, Nick Terrell trying to work his way up as Kevin Hayes holds on to the lead from Sergei Perok for the 2nd lap. We have 45 minutes of racing here. I believe, based on the lap times, it's not quite 30 laps. And about halfway, about half distance, you'll see them come in for a pit stop. Fastest lap from Sergei Perok with a 129.9. Tony Caicedo, 131.147. Definitely slower than both of the front-running leaders, even though he was with them at the start of this race. So interesting to see if he can find that second of time he had in quali before we get too far underway. Able to keep it out of the tire barrier. As that battle rages on at the front, Charles Rotes trying to find the time back to get into the fight with Parker Merrill again. Charles Rotes with a bit of a spin. Let's take a look real quick to see if make sure he didn't end up crashing it. And he gets, I think, light on the brakes, locks them up, and spins it, trying to get into the corner. No, he hits the curbing, loosens up the car, loses control of it, brakes to prevent that impact with the wall, does so successfully, gets himself going again, loses, unfortunately, his 2 positions, spins it there, trying to regain control of the car, almost backs up into Joshua Harless, but is able to keep the car in one piece, and he will keep the car going. Definitely some time to make up there from the start of the race. Tony Caicedo into 2nd position. Now, I was looking at all that. Kevin Hayes seems to have a bit of an off. Let's see if I can look at what happened there. Didn't register it as anything, so it definitely was a spin there. I'm trying to figure out what happened there. Bad exit out of the corner. Let's see if I can look at this from Kevin's position here. Oh, gets into the grass, loses control as it bounces over the curbing, spins it out, keeps it out of the wall, and he just gets going real slow as a result, drops himself down to 3rd. But otherwise, he's doing well. Keeping up the tempo there, down 1 position. Tony is up 1. Sergey back in the lead of this race, all on his own at the moment. Battle for 3rd is going on. Let's ride along with Kevin as he takes the fight to Tony Caicedo for 2nd position. So I get the buttons right. To do that, you're on board. Let's go. 6 gears, use all of them effectively. You break down, you get down to like 1st, I believe, in this hairpin. Yeah, it looks like it based on what Kevin's using. And you slam your way back up through the gears for the long casino straight, making the most out of that 6th gear. You're not quite redlining it, but you get pretty close. And the draft here really being influential as you see Tony etch ever closer. Kevin looking for the overtake, backs out of it, trying to fake Tony into a defensive line to then get the better run is my guess. But again, 2 nice straights here to utilize the draft that you get out of this. Kevin Hayes setting the fastest lap of the 129.917 as he takes the inside line, and a great late braking gives him P2. Tony Caicedo setting his personal best of 130.402. Sergei Perok as well, running off with that 261. And the fight is still here. Nick Terrell made his way up to 4th. Running really good times. Parker Merrill had a bit of a slow run this lap. I think he was keeping it from locking up and crashing as a result. And Tony Caicedo still trying to chase down Kevin Hayes, but I think he has a bit of a gap now between him and Kevin Hayes, who has a bit of a gap between him and Sergei Peruk. They're kind of all on their own now, so that draft no longer helping any of them. And we're still hanging out with Nick Terrell there in 4th. As we're still rolling here, kind of looking at a couple things, trying to see what the data is showing us as we look through some sectors and lap times. And in Sector 1, Nick Terrell about 4/10 slower right now than Tony Caicedo. I wonder if he'll improve that over the course of this. Not that I've always seen Nick arrive and drive some tracks, but I have seen him do it enough times to be where I wouldn't be crazy surprised if that was the case. Half a tenth down, and then Parker Merrill another 3rd down from that. But him, Joshua Harless, is making his return. So I believe the battle for 5th starting to heat up. Now he has a second, 1.3 seconds to catch up to Parker Merrill in front of him. 62 Super Formula Light. As everybody sets slower times, with the exception of Tony Caicedo of the top 3 on his personal best of 130.402. And Parker Merrill setting 132.119. Joshua Harless setting a 131.5. So a good half second faster. So that gap I think we might see close if it doesn't. Joshua is able to keep it together, and Parker doesn't realize that he has to make more time up here. As he's doing so, a bit of a lockup there as he jumps over the curbs. These curbs are not kind to these cars in terms of unsettling them. And if you're not careful, like we saw here and like we've seen with Charles Rotes earlier, as well as I think Kevin Hayes, they will definitely get unsettled very easily. You see Charles Rotes there in the back of the shot. He is 3 seconds behind Joshua Harless and is currently on the recovery drive at this point. We are 10 minutes in, almost a 4th of the way through. And the cars, on-track action, settled down. All of our drivers are kind of on their own for the moment. Sergei Peruk, 3 seconds ahead of Kevin Hayes. You saw him in the back of that shot there for a brief moment. Currently running a decent lap time of 130.249, but Kevin Hayes is running 130.175. We look at his lap time history over the past few laps, and Sergei Peruk has been a little slower on a couple of the important laps, but then a little faster on the rest of them. Lap 3 is a lap where Kevin Hayes had to give up the lead as a result of his spin. So the other laps are him trying to claw back this time, and it looks like it's almost kind of staying around 3 seconds between the two of these, having a really good lap 4 for Kevin Hayes and a really good lap 6 for Sergei Peruk. Gives them both good times. The last lap times really kind of being slow for most of these drivers, with the exception of Parker Merrill, who sets his personal best of 131.218 finding that time there to keep Joshua Harless at bay. As that time has jumped back up to 3 seconds. And I'm interested to see if the fuel strategy game will come into effect and jostle or change the order significantly. We'll have to see. Ooh, a 129.783 comes out of Kevin Hayes, once again setting the fastest lap overall. So he's definitely making that gap shrink by half a second on that lap alone. Tony Caicedo setting a 130.9, a little bit slower than the rest of the field. Nick Terrell with a 132.478. I swear that Kevin just touched the wall, but I think it was just my machine electing to show me things that aren't real. As he is making up that time beautifully towards Sergei Perok in the front of the grid. Sergei Perok now on a mission to set a little bit, build up that gap again. Because if he lets him get underneath a second here, Kevin Hayes will have the draft and he'll have the ability to run away with, at least for a lap. And then they'll be back into the draft battles, which I think will make this car one of many of the cars on the iRacing service that are really interesting in terms of being able to battle with the leaders just by being consistent and staying with them. You see Sergei in the beginning of that shot. You see Tony Caicedo behind Kevin Hayes there at the end. Hop over to him, take a look at those times. And he is about a second slower overall between him and Kevin Hayes, but he is about, I believe, a second faster than Nick Terrell. I think the fuel strategy is going to be an important piece of this game and this race here tonight for the drivers to see where they end up. Sergei Perok setting his personal best of a 129.886. Kevin Hayes down a little bit with a 129.951. Tony Caicedo 130.754. Trying to see how this is shaken down. The interval between Sergei Perok and Kevin Hayes has continued to shrink, not by much, but a little bit. And I'm interested to see if that continues. Now, Sergei last week at Barcelona tried to do the no tires fuel save strat. That did not pay off for him because the tires fall off at about 30 minutes in these cars. So you really want to take the tires on the one stopper. It's usually a one stop, can be a two stop. But for most of these races this week or this season, there'll be one stops. But because of how fast tires are, you don't have to worry about them when you're taking fuel in these machines. So you take fuel, you take tires, you get back out on the racetrack, you're good to go. You got to worry about the new tires being cold, but otherwise you have no issues. So he opted not to take that, and that bumped him down the order. That's why he's sitting, I believe that was 4th overall. Kevin Hayes losing a little bit of time there, running off and using a little bit of that gravel to keep, or not gravel, but the grass to keep himself from crashing. Still sits a faster time though than Kevin Hayes with the 130.1 to Sergei Perok's 130.444. And Tony Caicedo finding a bit of time there with a 130.264. So his gap between him and the rest of the grid seems to be gaining. He is keeping a good amount of space between himself and Nick Terrell, and seems to be not losing too much ground to Kevin Hayes, who's in front of him about 5 seconds. Kevin Hayes getting a bad exit out of there, going into turns 7 and 8. And that gap once again opens back up. And we'll see how this continues. I'm looking at the lap time history between all these drivers, kind of looking at what's available to them. Both Kevin and Tony Caicedo setting faster lap times than Sergei Perok. If they keep it up, then they will have the chance to get back into the crosshairs for the overall victory. And they are setting a good gap between themselves and the podium. Meanwhile, back here, Joshua Harless has found his way onto the tail end of Parker Merrill, who he got passed by earlier in his lockup. It looks like he's trying to get his way back onto the offensive here, setting about a second to a second and a half faster lap times than Parker Merrill is for the most part. Parker Merrill having the best lap on lap 7 and has set much slower laps since then. The gap, and just look at that. They're going almost too wide, not quite, but very close on that final chicane there for the start-finish stretch alongside the Wall of Champions. Let's see if we can follow behind. Hop on board with Parker Merrill, see what it looks like from behind his car. One of these buttons. That button? No. That button. Also no. This button. Yes. All right. One of these is the right one, I promise. So, behind him, we're riding along with Parker Merrill. We're looking out the tail end of this vehicle, trying to see how far away Joshua Harless is. And Joshua Harless sets a little bit of a slower lap time, but is still within that second gap and really gets some of the benefits of the draft here on the start-finish, or on the straights, such as the start-finish straight and in that casino straight. But looks like he's taken his own line. I wonder if that's to bleed off a slowdown. You can get a few of these around this circuit if you're not careful. Ooh! I wonder if that was just on our end or if that was actual damage for Parker Merrill. Because of how close you run with some of these walls, sometimes iRacing will say that they've made contact with the wall, even though they haven't. And right there, you can see Joshua Harless making the time stick there. But Parker Merrill has a great exit. Joshua Harless having to reel him back in. Wow. Kevin Hayes, 129.555, a whole second faster as the battle for first also begins to heat up. We'll see whether or not Joshua can make the pass real quick. And then we'll hop on board with Sergei Perok and see a similar thing happening at the start of the front of the field. Big jump over the barrier, bouncing off the wall. Looks like Joshua Harless has the run here as a result. We're going to hop over to the TV3, one of the TV buttons. One of them will give me what I want. And Joshua Harless has the inside line here. Parker Merrill trying to go for the over-under into turn 2. Has to come back around, trying to get behind, in front of him. Has a great exit out of turn number 2 into turn 3, 4, and 5. Ends up deciding to abandon the push and give up the time and allow himself not to crash or crash into Joshua Harless. Sergei Perok trying to fend off Kevin Hayes, who is currently less than a second behind him. As that battle continues onward. Kevin Hayes setting that fastest lap of the session so far with a 129.555. Last time by, really closing the gap between him. If you look at the lap times here, I still got up 1 second faster, 1.3 seconds faster than Sergei Perok, and Tony Caicedo also setting a faster time with the 129.979 last time by. So the gap there is closing to these front 3 runners. Once again, Kevin Hayes setting a better time, really closing down the distance in that interval, showing that less than a second. We'll see how well they're able to keep up with this momentum. See if Tony Caicedo can work his way in as well. Sergei gets a great exit out of here. You see that gap and that relative stretching out just a little in this battle for first. Love tap with the wall, it sounds like, from Sergei in front of him, and the relative closing back down. Sergei, as Kevin Hayes trying to find that last bit of time and make his way up to Sergei at the front. Sergei is pushing really hard to stay out in front of him. And he has to remember the draft will favor Kevin Hayes because he's within that second time frame. It's not as powerful as when you get into the half second there, but it's still a good number. Because I have local police trying to make noise outside my house. The gaps everywhere else seem to have opened back up again. Tony Caicedo 10 seconds ahead of Nick Terrell, who's about another 6 seconds ahead of Joshua Harless. 10 seconds. I can read. Joshua has made a 4-second gap to Parker Merrill, who he passed last time by. This battle for the lead still going real strong. Kevin Hayes closing that half-second gap. and seems to be on the hunt. Pit stop in for Parker Merrill, the first of our individuals as we get through, and we're about at the halfway mark. Let's take a listen with the drivers, see how they're handling this first half of the race.
Yeah, seriously. So I think that'll be pretty funny.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Joined.
Good evening.
What's up? What's up?
What's up, Fen?
Oh, just
It's the Finn check-in minute.
Yep, it is. It is the
Yeah, seriously.
mid-race check-in, seeing how everybody's doing. I saw Parker Merrill hop into the pit lane.
How much are you struggling to talk about things right now?
Oh, I'm having a blast saying the same 3 things over and over again about the battle between Sergey and Kevin here at the front. I did get to see the rather epic pass from Joshua Harless for P5, excuse me.
Ooh, I'll have to go back and watch.
It was good. It was a good run. Got a great exit off that. Both of them into the pit lane. All right. I'm going off
I was trying to do the opposite
what?
of him, but
Why?
I couldn't tell if he was going in or staying out. I guessed wrong. I was trying to do opposite.
But they both come in for the pit stop in this lap, and Tony's at the front. All right, cool. Well, I'm going to go back to my booth, I guess. Good luck, y'all.
Yeah, you get back to your dungeon. See ya.
Sounds good, Nick.
See you later, Fen.
Alrighty. Oh, perfect fucking exits for both of y'all. All right, bye. As they get back out onto the racetrack in the order they came in from, Tony Caicedo inheriting the lead. So I'm just going to keep riffing. Now, both of them taking their pit stops. Both were on the jacks, as they say, for just about 7 seconds. Sergey getting about a half-second jump, or half-second slower, which means that battle for P1 effectively after the pit cycle is still raging. Nick Terrell now only 3 seconds behind the two of them. As you can see him in the background there. Oh, we see Sergey get a little bit over the curbing there, able to keep it in one piece. And Tony Caicedo all out on his own for the lead, but he will have to come in and pit probably this time by. I would have to imagine. We're just about the halfway mark, a little bit over. No, he stays out, holding on to the lead, not choosing to pit early. Oh, you know what else I'll go say hi to? I'll ask how Joshua Harless is doing. I haven't talked to him yet tonight. Hey.
Hello.
How's the race going?
So far so good. Had a little bit of an unfortunate lockup at the beginning of the race, but I've been feeling confident on this track. Put in a lot of hours, and it's kind of paying off.
It seems to be. You've been running pretty consistently here. I saw that lockup, and I was like, oh no. But I've been watching the lap times between you and Parker Merrill and Charles Rhodes, and I'm like, man, definitely some work being done there.
Oh yeah, surprisingly really good pace. This track is so fun to just rip in these SFLs. It's ridiculous.
I say it fits really well, and I think the machinery is like the right pace for it to really maximize like the enjoyment of it. It doesn't feel too small for the drivers or for the cars. If that makes sense.
Oh yeah. It's kind of, I don't want to say Monaco-esque, but like just the tightness of it, the blind turns, like if Monza was a good track, it would be this one.
Oh, man after my own heart with Monza. You got a pit soon,
yeah.
I assume? One of the two
Oh
drivers
yeah, I'm stretching fuel, and I'm really debating on whether or not I should have or not.
Well, you're going to be the last one to pit as Tony has just come in, so you'll have to...
Also, the fun part is I don't know where pit entry is. I've just been ripping, so
It's
I'm
at
assuming
the-
it's after the...
It is right. It is at the last chicane before the start-finish line. You'll see the paint on the left-hand side of the track. You'll see the line for it. You just follow it in, and then you'll see the lines and cones and stuff. So
I'm just gonna take it nice and easy.
all right.
Okay, I see the cones. All right,
Yep.
thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Happy to be a help. I'm gonna go back to my booth. Good luck. I hope you enjoy it.
Thank you.
All right. Joshua Harless, the last of our drivers into the pit lane. Tony Caicedo in and out ahead of Kevin Hayes. Let's go see what happened to Kevin Hayes as we get back going underway. Everybody else has been into the pit box and then out of the pit box. And yeah, I want to say something has happened to Kevin Hayes. Let's find out what it was. Let's see, figure out where the heck. Pass Kevin Hayes. 2. Right along here with. No, he's already by himself at that point. Let's see if I can find out. Oh, that might be where it was. Let's see here. Just hit play here. Gonna ride along with Kevin for a little bit while I figure out what the. Oh, there's the spin. We missed it. But that is what caused him to drop away from Sergei Perok, and he has to go back fighting again. And Tony, when he came in for his pit lane, didn't have to worry about fighting 2 cars, just has to make the final final 5 seconds to P1 in front of him. Let's jump back up to the live. Kevin Hayes, 11 seconds behind the leader, 3 seconds behind, almost 2 seconds now behind Tony Caicedo in the P2 spot. Nick Terrell comfortably in P4, Joshua Harless in P5, a second behind Parker Merrill. I think he's going to be wanting revenge there. Let's take a quick look. We'll ride along. Far behind them, Charles Rotes, who's had a bit of a recovery drive. Also one of the late pits the last time by, or a couple times by. And we are over the halfway mark. We're going to be enjoying about 15 or so, 16, 17 more minutes of action here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. All 7 cars still on the racetrack and on the lead lap. The last driver here, Charles Rote, that we're hanging out with, trying to see if he can make up the 2 seconds between him and Parker Merrill over the next couple laps. Parker Merrill tries to keep up with Joshua Harless. Harless looking like he had a slow exit there. That battle for 5th is on. Let's ride along with the 2 of them. Oh, and you can see the onboard action. Parker Merrill going for that late break on the inside, hoping to get in front of Joshua Harless. Joshua Harless keeping up right with him and has a great exit out of the turns there. I'm looking at, see that Stellar Motorsports seems to have been not correctly saved for some reason. So apologies to the Stellar Motorsports team for that being ejected again. Joshua Harless getting the great over-under pass on the hairpin there. Parker Merrill having the outside line here, taking the use of that draft like we were talking about. You get a lot of good speed there on the brakes as they get through the champion's corner. A little bit of a lift there as he tries to keep the car out of the wall for Joshua Harless. But he is not far behind, able to keep up with him. Tony Caicedo and Kevin Hayes also on a battle, not far behind them. Charles Rotes entering the fray for a brief moment. I think he'll be seeing a little bit more of him as these 2 duke it out. So we're looking from a rather, probably won't be a great shot of these cars. We'll move over to a different one so we don't see a bunch of trees. In the background there, you can see Charles Rotes on the attack, trying to get back to P1 here. Kevin Hayes trying to take the fight to second for Tony. Tony doing a weave, doing a second weave, trying to keep Kevin Hayes out of the drafts. And I wonder if we were in a formula. Oh, looks like a bit of a knock there from Kevin Hayes, losing a bit of time as he gets back going underway the correct direction. I wonder if that'll cost him aero or dynamics, or if that was just entirely on my side. We'll find out. And this battle continues on. I'm going to pop back down to Charles Rotes, who's at the back of this battle for 5th. Going to hang out on the roll bar from his perspective, see how he sees it. Fastest laps from everybody in the field this past time by, and we'll see if how much that continues. Less than 2 seconds separating these 3 drivers here at the back of the grid. And they're all battling out for these final few positions. All of these points, these spots will be points paying. Charles Rotes getting a great run this last lap. It almost oversteers it, coming into turn number 2, loses that bit of time going into 3 and 4, and he's able to keep it moving the right direction. Hop back on board with Kevin Hayes, who's hunting down Tony Caicedo really at the end of that draft. I'm not sure he'll have quite enough to really gain a whole bunch of time other than stem the flow of time that he's losing on his own. Both of them 8 seconds now behind Sergei Perok. Sergei Perok having a really great race, able to keep it under control here. 130.9, however, on that last lap. See how Tony Caicedo and Kevin Hayes doing, and if they can bring the fight back to him. 130.4 and 130.2. Oh, a big bounce over the curbing as he tries to wrangle it back up, but he's going to lose that time he's been gaining to Tony, and he is back on the works. Charles Rotz and the trio of cars, Parker Merrill and Joshua Harless, all fighting for these back few spots. This battle seems to be perpetually evergreen, one might say, as he is doing his best to keep it in position. I believe Josh was trying to get this last podium spot, or not this last, trying to get to P5 again after he got it removed by a blazing lap from Parker Merrill a few laps back, and it's been a fight between the three of them ever since, as they've been trading for that P5 position and doing so pretty successfully. Charles Rotz at the tail end of this, also finding time. And they are all within a second of each other between these three drivers, and all trying to find position and time there. Sergei Perok, Tony Caicedo, Kevin Hayes, all listed as a lap ahead on our timing screen. But there's been a second loss from Sergei there. He runs a 30.488. Fastest for Tony with a 29.742. And Kevin Hayes setting a 29.866. That battle for P2 still raging on, as well as the battle for P5. Well, I've not spoke much about it. I'll take a quick moment. Talk about Nick Durrell. Kind of off on his own. Having a good race. Keeping his nose clean. Setting decent lap times. Had a bit of an off track this lap by, I believe. Let's take a quick look at that. Then we'll get back to the action, as I believe it's still heated in the back there for P5. Oh, bit of a spin. Clunks it off the back wall, but he keeps it going. So, been a decent race for him from the looks of it. Keeping his nose clean. These three, however, nose is also mostly clean, but in a battle for a actual position. Not that Nick's not. Tony Caicedo finally being passed after a late break for position 2 by Kevin Hayes. I'm going to take a quick look at this. It looks like a lockup there from Tony, or a spin. Oh, a spin. He locks it up, trying to keep it out of the wall. Able to do so, but that allows Kevin Hayes to get by uncontested. So, Tony Caicedo now in third, having to take the fight to Kevin Hayes. The time that they've lost, not super marginal, or sorry, is super marginal, not significant. And they've kept the 7-second gap to Sergei Perok pretty close. Charles Rotz, Joshua Harless, and Parker Merrill all kind of fanning out again. The three of them cooling down for a moment before they probably take the fight back for a second time. Bring in the Rotz. I'll have to find him. Go say hi again. Charles Rotz having a bit of a race. A little under 10 minutes left in this race. Charles Rotz having to find the time there. Jenna Esposito cheering him on. And the battle there continuing to rage. Charles pushing really hard. I think the tires are a little mad at him as a result. The battle for P2 seems to have traded once again. I'm going to figure out what happened there. I looked away for a second to look at chats and messages. Kevin Hayes seems to have crashed. Let's make sure I understand what happens here. He's ahead of Tony Caicedo going into this corner. Goes for the racing line. Finds it. Does he pull a Charles Rotes type move? Yes. Bounces over the curbing. Unsettles the car. Whips it back around the other way. Loses control of it so gracefully. Tony Caicedo narrowly avoiding Kevin Hayes. As Kevin Hayes brings it to a stop. Gets it at least stopped without hitting a wall. And then has to Austin Powers 30-point turn it back in the right direction. Kevin Hayes having a bit of a rough race. See, every time he seems to be making progress, he then ends up going backwards. Parker Merrill under fire still from Joshua Harless. As the battle for fifth rages on. And we are Tony Caicedo blinking either because I'm having an issue or he is. I'm wondering if we'll see a late lunge into the hairpin from Joshua Harless this time by. He has a look, tucks back in. Parker Merrill aware of him in the mirrors. That's going to be a little bit of a lockup there from Parker Merrill. I wonder if he'll get a good exit or if Joshua Harless will get a better one. Charles Rotes still in the fight as well. A little ways behind. And that gap is closing rapidly. You can see the numbers almost getting the same. Parker Merrill going for the defensive-ish line for initially, then tucking back into the racing line. Joshua Harless looking for the overtake here. Has the run, has the speed, goes for the inside line. Side by side into turn one, breaks. See if he has the inside line here. Parker Merrill going on the outside. Joshua having to tuck back in. Get around, but he has once again found himself on the tail end of Parker Merrill, but the gap there is staying at about 0.2 of a second as they continue on this battle. Neither one willing to give up fifth position. Joshua Harless looking to move up from his starting grid position. Oh, a big lockup from Parker Merrill brings Joshua back into the fight, and around he goes for fifth position. Parker Merrill now on the defensive, losing a bit of time there from the exit of the corner, but that draft keeping him from losing too much time, and he's going to have to be aggressive in order to get this time back. Charles Rotes in the background of all this. I think he had a bit of a lockup of his own. As our current running order, Sergei Perok in the lead, Tony Caicedo in second. A rather large gap between him and Kevin Hayes, him and Kevin Hayes in third of about 8 seconds, but Kevin Hayes setting the fastest lap of the session with a 129.53. Nick Terrell in fourth, up 3 positions from where he started in seventh. Joshua Harless in fifth. Parker Merrill in sixth. Charles Rotes is going to be your seventh and final runner of this race. Charles Rotes also is listing as he has crashed. Let's find out what happened here. We are into turns 5, 6, 7, a rather fun complex in these machines. Loving the downforce. You get a lot of time here and have a lot of fun. Hard on the brakes around where that, changes. And he is around. And this is in the background of the spot where Joshua Harless overtook Parker Merrill for fifth. But keeps it out of the wall and keeps him going the right way. Kevin Hayes marked as crashed again. Let's see what happens and if it brings a fight together for Nick Terrell. Let's go see what happened actually on this fight. He's going into the hairpin. That shot was from the outside of the hairpin, or the corner, the casino straight. And it looks like he probably locks it up, I'm going to say. It looks like he just spins it, trying to leave the corner. Spins it around. Kevin Hayes into pit lane, probably for a drive-through is going to be my guess. as well as which brings Nick Terrell into the podium spot from where he's been kind of hanging out in fourth. The battle between P2 and P3 is now over, but can Kevin Hayes make up the time in the last 3 minutes of this race in order to take home a podium position, continue his lead over Robert Llewellyn in the points? This is interesting. See if he has the pace over the last couple laps. And I guess the answer is going to be maybe. I would love to see it. I'd love to see it finding a fascinating finish to this race. Parker Merrill going off track amongst all of that, which we'll hop into real quick. He was chasing down Joshua Harless. I think he gets a little late on the brakes, ends up having to take the grass in between the corners, and that'll give him a slowdown, which is probably why he is 2 seconds back from Joshua Harless. Joshua Harless sitting comfortably in fifth, about 20 seconds behind Kevin Hayes now, and Nick Terrell 2 seconds ahead of Kevin Hayes after Kevin Hayes served that drive-through penalty. And can Kevin Hayes make up the difference in time, as we are about 2 laps away from the end of this race? We're keeping an eye on the time and the gap between him and Nick Terrell. Nick Terrell setting about a little bit slower time. I'm going to look at the last times. 134, because he had a slow run out of the pit lane versus the 131 of Nick Terrell. If we looked at this sector breakdown between him and Terrell, Sector 1, Kevin Hayes 0.3 faster, breaking the 2-second gap between him and Nick Terrell. Nick Terrell ahead a little slower, not by much though, of Tony Caicedo. We'll do just him and other way. Kevin Hayes. Personal best for Nick Terrell of a 27.334 and 0.074 faster is Kevin Hayes, who is down to 1.9. So again, just skirting that 2-second gap between him and Nick Terrell. Parker Merrill off track again. And he's able to come back on track before he loses too much more time. But the final position might be up for grabs. P6, I should say, is up for grab for Charles Rotes. Nick Terrell setting a 38.078 in Sector 3. Kevin Hayes a little bit slower. And so that 1.9 gap remains as the end of the lap. Lap history for these two. And Tony Caicedo running a 131. Nick Terrell and Kevin Hayes both running faster lap times. Overall, Kevin Hayes running a faster lap time than Nick Terrell, keeping the gap there. I'm not focused a ton on Nick Terrell, so I'm enjoying my time here. The other person I haven't focused much on, Sergei Peruk. Currently sits in the lead. 6 seconds, running a little bit slower. I think this might be white flag for him. I would have to imagine. And I think this should be checkered. Yes, it is checkered. Sergei Peruk taking home the victory here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Tony Caicedo coming home P2 after a tumultuous race. Up a position for where he started. Nick Terrell coming down the final bend. Kevin Hayes hot on his heels for this final podium spot. As the two of them will come down and come home in P3 and P4 respectively, unless something crazy happens right here, which it does not. Both of them coming through the Wall of Champions very effectively. A wiggle there from Nick Terrell as he has finished the race in a podium spot. I don't think that's where he exactly expected to be finishing. Not far behind them, Joshua Harless off on his own. A beautiful drive for him up from where he started one position into fifth. And the work paying off for him by the looks of it very handily. And just behind him is Parker Merrill. P6. And last but certainly not least, Charles Rotes of Sauce GP taking home 7th position in the Canadian Grand Prix at Circuit Charles Villeneuve. Let's hop on down, take a quick look at the, see how the cooldown room's going.
That kind of an edge.
Well, actually, if you look at
Hey.
my spins, like 2 of them
Uh-huh.
were on the same little curb. Like it wasn't pushing; it was just I clipped the curb more than I needed to, and it wasn't like I was pushing
Oh.
too deep or I was pushing too hard in that section. I just kind of like I didn't
Yeah.
feel on edge when I spun.
Oh, Kevin, you
Um,
actually improved your quick lap on lap 26. I didn't
I
realize
did.
that.
Yeah, and then 27 was when I was going even quicker. I was a 10th up on that.
Damn.
So I was flying.
You were cooking.
I had no need to be pushing that hard, but I was like, 4 would look cool up there. It cost me a spot, but whatever.
Yeah.
And then the little spin when you said something, Tony, was just I just kind of lost concentration a little bit and then got my throttle.
Oh, I'm
too.
sorry.
No, you're good.
I'm sorry.
I was mid corner and I was like, where's he talking about? And then all of a sudden I was sideways. I was like, that's not good. So yeah, no, it wasn't anything. I didn't feel like I was pushing crazy hard or anything. I felt like I was pushing harder at Barcelona last week than I was pushing here.
Yeah.
So
Oh, seeing we're using some curb in that second chicane. I did not trust that idea. Holy shit.
oh yeah, I was
good.
pretty aggressive with the curbs, I think. I usually am.
Oh, I was trying to be nice with them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was avoiding them too. I'm
Now,
just
Tony,
watching a fast lap to see where I sucked.
Now, Tony, the GT3s are where I push too hard because I always expect them to have way
Yeah.
more front end than they really do.
Yeah, seriously, man. Seriously. They're just so
So-
numb in the front end.
Very.
You know?
Finally, I'm
Very,
gonna grab
very.
some points, you know? Woohoo!
Let's
be
see.
Yeah,
fair,
the drop
session's
weeks will factor in
done.
now too.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah,
look
congrats
at
on the
those.
win, Turkey.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
That moves Sergey into third, 4 points behind Robert in first, Tony in second with 43 points, Sergey in
Okay.
third with 40th. Actually, hey, Ben, can you bring up the standings?
I certainly can
Make
bring
it
up
look
our.
pretty.
Let me see if I can do the in real time. I
I
can.
can make him look pretty.
Let me see if I can do it real
pretty.
time. I cannot do it real time. Hold on. Let me fix it for real time.
I thought it could.
I thought I could too, but apparently
Or do you have to import it?
I have
no, it's
to-
not real time.
it's not real time. I wish it was.
Well, for all the people at
Yeah,
home,
lots of
Robert
weapons to mass
Llewellyn
back
in
there.
first with 44, Tony in second with 43, Sergey in third with 40. I'm in fourth with 39, so 5 points separating the top 5 or top 4.
Nice.
So that's
Nick,
a close battle.
very close. We all have wins. I have 2 fastest laps. Robert has 1, and then my average finish is just worse because you guys have all second places for your second worst, and I have third for my second worst. So I think that's where
There
my
have been 4 races, but only 3 fastest laps.
How
That
is
is strange,
that?
isn't it?
No, you're 100% correct. There have been 4 races. Oh, you know what? I bet someone's fastest lap is on their drop week.
Probably.
I bet someone has a fastest lap on a
Yeah,
drop, so it's not counting it.
Is there a way for me to see the points per schedule? I might be able to figure that out. Fastest
schedule.
lap for the first race, Hungaroring.
Oh,
that
you know what? It was probably
yours.
me at the Hungaro ring. 5th is
Yep,
my worst finish, so I have a third fastest lap that's not counting.
Yeah.
I think
That would
this-
be the one. Yeah, because you finished P5.
We have four different race winners right now, guys.
Hell yeah.
4 weeks,
That's
4
cool.
winners.
Which actually makes it really nice and competitive because, you know, like lots of people kind of fighting for the, you know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, this has been good so far. It's been great. I think next next week there's a break. Mid-season, right? Just kind of a little cool off. Because it's an 8-week season. So there's gonna be a break in the middle. But then we get back to it May 1st.
Oh, it's just bangers
With-
the second half of the season.
Oh yeah, it's all bangers. The second half's gonna be great. First half was a warm up and a test of skill. Second half is just gonna be all bangers. We got Zandvoort, Spa, Imola, and Algarve. It's gonna be great.
I'm already preparing to do a drive-through at Imola. There
Imola
is no
great,
way.
man. It's such a
Yeah,
a
but I get-
phenomenal flow state track.
I'm gonna get so many off tracks. So easy to get off
Oh,
tracks there.
It'll be brutal. Spa, we
Spa
gotta
in
hope
this
is gonna be a
car,
big red.
I think is almost flat out through Puan in this car.
It's
It's
a
close.
small lift if I'm not mistaken.
It's
Well,
gonna
let's see when
be
we get
it's gonna be spicy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And Zandvoort is gonna be so much fun. I've done races in this car and the regular Super Formula at Zandvoort. It's always a great time.
Well, I gotta go do dishes, but I don't have work tomorrow, so I will be back on playing something or racing in a little bit.
Incredible.
Kevin, good racing.
Damn, I
I'm
gotta go
sorry that you
get
had.
some dinner.
I'm sorry that you had to hit those curbs, 2 times in a row. But that was a really
Sergey,
good race.
it has become too much of a regularity for me in both this series and in OMEC of spinning well, doing well. So I gotta figure something out in my head because I'm going to drive myself crazy if I keep throwing away good results.
You gotta take a Bob Gummy for good luck.
I think
No,
I
because
might
honestly,
have
you
to.
have, for me, like maybe the same. Like I feel like you guys have the pace for sure. Like you're like, but I'm like in the same spot. I do have the pace, but the problem is that I kind of feel worried, like and anxious when it comes like the second part of the race. And even like Tony was asking what's going on, I was just like dropping like I don't know 0.5 of a second a lap just because I really want to push it and crash it. And yeah,
Well,
The-
that
the
point, when you
pressure
have
is
the
real.
race
Hey,
when you have
it
the race
worked.
locked up, you don't want to even risk it. So I mean,
yeah.
you diet it down just a click or two, and
But even when Kevin was behind me, I had like a solid 4 seconds gap, right, or something like that. But I was doing like 131, 132, and he was doing like 129.6, like almost every lap. So he was gaining like almost like 0.4 of a second a lap on me. And yeah,
yeah, that's the thing. You can be a couple tenths quicker, but then you have one like 2
Mistake
or
and
3
then,
second
yeah.
loss of mistake, yeah, from a spin or something, and you
Or
just
4.
offset like 10 plus laps. So if it's 5, 6, 7 seconds, now you've offset like 20 or more laps.
Ooh,
Fuck is
Dance
my
Gavin Dance
team?
just announced a tour with Belmont.
How?
I don't dance. I don't
Is
actually
Fen
know
in
who that
here?
band is.
Yeah, I am.
He
What's
does the
up?
horizontal mambo.
Ben, you
Oh.
can add to my like my off-season break practice regimen,
Mm.
reaching the Zen state, so that I can keep chill and keep moving forward.
Absolutely. I
We're
will.
drunk.
Evan, I was gonna put that in the announcements.
It's my league now, bitch.
Fuck you.
And on that bombshell, I'm going to
I
go
like
close
my
out the
average
broadcast.
11th.
God damn it.
Same average finish as Kevin, but I started 11th.
Hey.
There you go.
Fan, how did you like the race? What was the good comments?
I had a blast. It was a good, fun calling. It was some nice close battles between y'all over the course of it, both up at the front and in the back. That 3-way battle for 5th was money. The back and forth between Joshua and Parker was, I think, pretty ideal. So
I'm gonna have to go watch it. 'cause
Yeah,
I didn't
and
see
then-
any of
and then-
that.
And then me
That's
playing cat, just chasing them the whole time.
yeah, and then Charles
That
is in the
was pretty good.
background waiting for both of them to crash into each other to collect that spots. Like,
So that's what I do usually. We will race, and then like in the evening, I'm going like literally watch this whole stream again with your comments and seeing what other people did in the race. So that's
Mhm.
really cool. Keep doing that.
oh, absolutely. I mean, that's the whole point, and that's why part of why I love doing it. So, but I'm glad it was enjoyed. I'm gonna go close it out here for this week.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll be checking it out tomorrow.
oh well.
yeah.
Get ready for me to talk
See you
about
guys
you
May
exactly once, Nick.
That's all
Not-
right.
not
Turn back
intentionally.
in or back or whatever. That's fine.
So I apologize.
I mean, it was a pretty boring race from my perspective, so
That's fair.
can't blame me there.
That's fair. So, all right, I'm gonna close it out. Good job, y'all. Great win, Sergey. Great podiums, both
Thank you.
Ben.
Thank you so much.
Tony
Oh,
and
you
Nick.
called
Yeah,
Kevin.
you.
You
Bound
called
out.
Kevin spin
Have a
a
great-
Charles type move.
I mean, it was the same way you spun earlier, so that's why I called it that way.
You know, I'm joking. I'm joking.
So, all right.
Hell yeah. Peace out.
Yep. And with that, the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve round 4 of the OFUC Osborne Formula Ultimate Challenge comes to a rather pleasant close. It was a good race. I had a blast calling it. I thank you all very much for watching. Those of you who stuck around for all the full 45 minutes of racing we had here tonight. So we will see you all not next week, but the week after for the first round of the second half of the season. And I'll maybe in between these two get the point system to update fucking correctly. That's my goal. It's my goal for the off week for me. But speaking of where we're going next week, when we're back on May 1st, we'll be at Zandvoort. So we'll see you all then in 2 weeks' time. Same place, same channel, same time. 2 weeks from now. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Fettuccini, having a blast here, just talking my head off over the course of this Osborne Formula Ultimate Challenge. I'll see you all next week. Not next week, week after. Bye-bye. Buttons. And